Good evening, everyone. Today is July 18th, 2016, and welcome back to Veterans Voices, a monthly talk show focusing on your issues, veterans issues. I'm Nathan Johnson, the Contra Costa County Veterans Service Officer, and I'm joined by my co-host, Gold Star father and Calvet Link, Kevin Graves.
Hey, Nathan.
Hey, Kevin. Good
to see you. Tonight, we have a very special episode planned for you. It was 2 years ago that Nathan and I sat up on this stage, and together, for the first time, we introduced Veteran Voices to the world. Welcome to our anniversary special. Join us as we celebrate the past 2 years. We'll be highlighting some of our favorite moments and most memorable guests. We've even invited back one very special Veterans Voices friends, as well as a past guest and co-host, Melissa Margain. She will join us shortly and would love for you to call or write in and say hello.
Tonight, we urge you to contact us with your favorite show moments or to even ask a question about veterans benefits. We want to hear from you. Our show was created to not only educate veterans and their families, but to also welcome audience participation. So give us a call, send an email, anonymous chat, or Facebook message. We'll be taking calls live throughout the show, as well as reading your messages. But first, we'd like to share a clip from our pilot episode and show you just how far we've come.
It's the first time we've had a show here in Contra Costa County in which we've been have the opportunity to talk about veterans. And we've been talking about this now for a couple months. And what we hope to do here in this show is to reach the veterans, reach the family members, reach the community right in their own living rooms.
And that's great, Nathan, because we go to a lot of events and we reach veterans that kind of reach out to us, but sometimes people don't get out, veterans don't get out to events, and so this gives us an opportunity to bring this show right home. This gives us an opportunity to discuss some of the benefits and resources that are available and to answer any questions. So we want to continue to invite callers to call in or to chat with us so that we can answer questions that directly relate to what their interests are.
But most importantly, this is your program, a program for you in Contra Costa County.
Wow, Nathan, you really look different back then. Must have been the Justin Bieber haircut.
Thanks, Kevin. 2 years ago, you and I sat downstairs and we just kind of started having a conversation for about 30, 45 minutes, and we thought, all we got to do is put a camera in the corner and we've got ourselves a show, and we've been reminding ourselves about that from every episode.
And I think some of the shows would have turned out better had we been down there with the camera in the corner. But we've had some great guests. We've had some great opportunity to share resources and benefits with veterans of Contra Costa County and throughout a larger community than that, actually. And so it's been an interesting 2 years. I think that we've learned a lot. I think that we've gotten a lot of good information out, and we've exposed the community to thoughts and ideas about veterans that they had no idea occurred.
Right, yeah, things that they wouldn't have heard or seen on just the regular media.
Absolutely.
The TV news would show a 30-second clip of something without really giving any, deep understanding of the issue or how the community can become involved and do their part. And, an hour goes by so quickly. Oftentimes we think it feels like 10, 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
And we get our guests up here and they just get started to say something good, and unfortunately we run out of time. But an hour, if you look at it, is such a good period of time to talk about some of the topics we've talked about, like the Live For box and War Inc. and some of the really revolutionary
Gold Star Family episode.
Gold Star Family
was great. And the women's episode. And what's interesting is the news clips that people see on regular TV are usually just something dramatic. Unfortunately, we've had too many of those moments recently with regards to Baton Rouge and Nice and some of these other things. But we have an actual opportunity not to just present the problem, but to actually talk about how these problems get resolved. And it's been an absolute privilege to be here, and I hope that we can continue to do this moving forward in many episodes to come.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to work with you. The past 24 episodes have covered a healthy variety of topics and issues relevant to veterans and their families. And there have even been times when Veterans Voices reported on a topic well before the mainstream media did. Topics like War Inc., Live For box, and the Gold Star Families episode, like Kevin and I just talked about. They appeared on our show well before they were picked up by the local and national news programs. Some of these programs became huge. They became large. War Inc. was covered by just dozens of media sources on its revealing day. Watch with us as we share highlights from our episode titled Gold Star Families broadcast in July of 2015.
Tonight's episode is about what it means to be a Gold Star family. The term Gold Star family is used to describe a family whose loved one was killed while serving on active duty in military service. They will often display a service banner in their home that has a gold star, or in some cases multiple stars, for the family member who has died. I am a Gold Star father, and all of our guests tonight are also Gold Star family members. We thought that it was important to talk to our veteran community about this club. You know, we have this kind of saying amongst ourselves that we're part of a club that really nobody ever wants to be a part of. Yeah. But yet somehow we found strength, we've found ways to move on, we found resources that have helped us, and so we thought it was important to share that with our veteran community tonight.
But talking about our loved ones is kind of a healing process for us, because we remember the smaller things about our kids when we are able to talk about them. It's easy to forget, you know, some of the little things that they would do. Charles was very nitpicky about things and stuff like that, and his food couldn't touch on the plate, things like that. And so when you get a chance to talk about your children like that, then it's a healing process. And I think it gives the other person an idea, hey, you know, that was a family, that was a loved one. It's a true loss. So.
Yeah. I agree 100%. I think that all we have left of our loved ones, the ones we lost, is the memories. And so any chance that we have to revitalize those is extremely important.
I think my biggest thing is it never gets easier. You just get better at handling it as every year goes by. It's never going to go away from year to year, but you get better at dealing with it.
Yeah. Very well said.
I think it depends on how soon after. You know, when Ben was just killed, and everybody really rallied around and tried to be there, and those efforts may not have been felt right then because, you know, and the family was just in shock and just devastated. Couldn't really process anything at that point. But, you know, I still have the cards and the emails and just little mementos that I've kept. And even though it's almost 7 years later, looking back and reading those, that brings a significant amount of healing.
After Jeremy's death, and I think it was the next year, we started going to the Gold Star Remembrance in San Francisco and meeting other families and other mothers, and I got to know other Gold Star mothers, and that helped a lot because we were dealing with the same thing, same issues, and you could talk to that person, they would know what you're going through, and it was a great support system.
The story of Gold Star mothers and fathers have been told many times, but Veterans Voices was the first talk show to feature these parents in the Bay Area. Kevin, as a Gold Star father, what are some of the challenges that you still face, or some of the family members out in the community?
Well, you are constant. Wow, that's a great question, Nathan, because next Monday will be actually 10 years from when I got the knock on the door, and I was told that my son had been killed in Iraq. And so 25 July of 06. Milestones seem to mean a lot more. I think our society kind of contributes to that, but in general, we all have to learn to adjust to a new normal. It's just not normal for you to outlive your children. The one thing that we can grasp as Gold Star family, those of us that wear this pin, is that there's honor. We try to find honor in their sacrifice. Nathan, you signed a dotted line and said, I'm gonna go serve my country. And fortunately, you came back. They don't all come back. No. And so it's very important that, that we find honor in the sacrifice. I'm extremely proud of my son's choices. I'm extremely proud of the fact that he chose to serve his country. I'm not at all happy about the outcome. But if I can grasp the honor in his sacrifice, it helps me go from day to day. And some days are better than other days. I'm not going to tell you that I'm always, you know, happy-go-lucky, because I'm not. I don't really have a happy-go-lucky anymore.
I learned a lot from that episode, the Gold Star Families episode, and it was great that I was able to just kind of get off the stage, and you hosted it, and you had spouses on the here, you had moms, you had dads, and I think that open conversation, sharing from the heart, just like you did, was just so moving, so touching. It was one of my favorite episodes.
And one of the other benefits of that is that not everybody can have that conversation. These people were extremely brave to come up on the show and talk about their loved ones and talk about the sacrifice. A lot of families can't. And so when we talk about our children, when I talk about Joey, you know what the motto, you've seen the motto for our foundation. It's inspired by one, but it's to honor all. And so as Gold Star family members, we try to always honor all of those that have paid that sacrifice, going back to all of our conflicts. I mean, especially in the Vietnam War.
And the great event that's held every February with its 60 Minutes was able to do a special segment on. I think it's fantastic that that discussion is now reaching the national media. And people are learning about these families in a way where they can say something more than just, I'm sorry for your loss.
And I'm proud of the fact that Veterans Voices had chosen to do that segment prior to that national coverage.
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to say we're the impetus for it, but we were at the cutting edge of that process.
I feel we were. And, you know, other episodes like War Inc., where, you know, we were interviewing veterans who were memorializing these men and women that were killed on the battlefield, and they have tattoos that typically in our community, in our society, are not really accepted. But when you kind of pulled back that piece of clothing and you really understood that tattoo, you could understand the guilt or the loss that they were feeling as service
and the
members.
stories that they told.
Yeah.
It was a very, very good episode. I think we're going to have some highlights on that, but in the meantime.
We have a call. We have Jeff Jewell on the line, and Jeff is a former guest on the show.
Absolutely.
And Jeff was on during our segment titled Your VA, and he was on Your VA. I guess we lost Jeff, actually.
Did we really?
Jeff, call back.
Call
we
us
want to
back.
talk to you, Jeff, and he has a neat story. Okay, he's back on the line. We're going to get him through here in a minute, but Jeff covered the Vet Center program.
Well, he's the team leader down at Contra Vet Center, just to make sure we explain that. And he has a great crew that works with him down there, and the Vet Center is open to deal with mostly combat vets and some of those unique...
And families.
And
Jeff,
families.
are you there? Are you with us?
Yes, this is Jeff Jewell.
All right, Jeff. Thanks for calling in.
Congratulations on 2 years, man. Your show has been great for all the veterans in Costa County, and I got to tell you, your show has been great for the Contra Vet Center. A lot of folks have come in seeking services because of your show, and we really I wanted to call and congratulate you and Kevin on a great show, and hope you have many more.
Well, thanks, Jeff. Tell us a little bit about your experience on the show. I think it was a little unique. If you would like to share that with us.
What I have to say, after I was on the show, I noticed. I have to tell you that after the show, I was inspired and I lost almost 90 pounds.
Congratulations, Jeff.
Yeah, and I took a look at myself on CCTV there, on the show, and I thought, you know what? Now you're going to have to invite me back because you will not recognize me.
Well, that's
yeah, so I think it was because of that show and seeing myself on TV that I thought, you know what? I think I need to lose some weight.
That's how good our cameramen are.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah, but
and you're doing something.
Your show is great, and I've been watching here, and Kevin, the stuff you're doing with the Gold Star parents. And also with the show you did, and also the stuff you're doing day in and day out. I'm just in awe of what you're doing, and it's great that you're on this show.
Thank you, Jeff. Tell us a little bit, real briefly, about what your special little project you got going in. Something about Alcatraz or something, huh?
Well, I'm going to be taking the rock at 61 years old. My wife thinks I'm crazy. I'm going to be swimming on September 25th in the Veteran Swim Challenge, sponsored by the Vietnam veterans at Diablo Valley and the San Francisco Swim Club. And I've been out there practicing. I'm getting ready to do my qualifying swim here in a couple of weeks. And I'm also hoping to raise some money through the Blue Star Moms. I have a GoFundMe account if you go to Facebook and you type in Take the Rock for Gold Star Parents, it'll come up. And we're trying to raise some money. All the funds will go to the Gold Star Parents event and for me completing that swim. So I've been out there practicing every week, and I'm going to be doing it. I'm But I discovered I'm not the oldest one out there. I think the oldest one out there is another Vietnam veteran, the 68. So.
Wow.
Right.
Well, listen, Jeff, we really appreciate what you do to support Gold Star families. That's how I first met you, and I'll never forget how supportive you've been to us and how you continue to support us. Good luck on your venture. You're a braver soul than me. And Nathan.
Yeah, Jeff, thanks for being on the show. Make sure to invite all the Solano County veterans out there to watch the show as well. It's not just for Contra Costa County.
Well, I am, and I'm actually pretty jealous. I am a director there at the Concord Vet Center, but I do live up here in Solano County, and I've been trying to get the county to do the same thing what you're doing for Contra Costa County, and hopefully you guys can blaze a trail and we can have something like this in all the counties in California.
Fantastic. Thanks again, Jeff. We'll catch up with you again later. And Mike Ergo actually will be calling into the show a little bit later on, and he'll talk a little bit more in detail about how you can get involved with Take the Rock.
Thanks, Jeff.
Fantastic opportunity to be involved. Thanks so much to Jeff Jewell for calling in. And we talked earlier about War Inc.
Yeah.
We talked about the Gold Star episode. War Inc. was a heavily covered topic, as I earlier mentioned, after it first appeared on Veterans Voices. But this veteran tattoo exhibit and oral history project actually launched right here in Contra Costa County out of our library system. Take a look. This is the War Inc. special, and tonight we are profiling the War Inc. virtual photo exhibit sponsored by the Contra Costa County Library. The real focus of this exhibit is to share the stories of veterans through their body art. These tattoos document experiences, memorialize fallen comrades, and tell the stories of combat veterans in their own words. We'd like to start by showing you some video from the War Inc. exhibit's opening reception.
I want to really start off with a heartfelt thanks to all of the veterans who trusted us to tell this story in the right way.
There have been a lot of people on this project who came and helped, and didn't just help, they worked hard to make this happen. You made a real difference in people's lives with your work. Stuff to be proud of.
The War Inc. project actually began, I guess, out of necessity. Myself and Chris Brown, who is a senior manager with the Contra Costa County Library, had been working together developing veterans programming needs in the Contra Costa County area. And then we also went on to develop some programming for the National Endowment of Humanities and the Calhoun's California Read, which is focused on veterans this year. During the course of all of that project development, he and I had started to notice that there was an enormous amount of attention in programming being paid to veterans that did not, per se, include them in the project itself. It wasn't veteran participants, there weren't veteran staff. Also, we realized that there still existed a considerable culture gap between the veteran community and civilian community, and that it was probably one of the most foundational obstacles to veterans returning home from the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. All people need community.
That was a wonderful episode we had with War Inc., and it was great having those guys on stage with us. While we were away at that, we got an anonymous chat that came in with regards to the Gold Star family episode that I'll read real briefly. This is a great tribute to our Gold Star families. I hope they can relay their sacrifice to other Americans. Too often, civilians are ready to send our troops into unwinnable or tribal civil wars. Going to war must be justified. The price is too high to go to war without achievable goals or a real exit strategy. And that's very true. And I appreciate whoever sent that in. I appreciate your perspective on that. And it's been, I commend your thought process there. I'd like to now, tonight as we commemorate the last 2 years of the show, we have something else to celebrate and be thankful for. Voices won its first award. The Hometown Media Award is a national contest for educational television shows that address community needs. Veterans Voices won for our episode, Women in the Military. We are now joined by one of the hosts for that show and past guest and co-host, Melissa Margain. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you very much for having me back.
How did you enjoy doing that show?
I really loved it. I was glad that there was an avenue available for us to just kind of talk about, the women in the military who serve. Unfortunately, we're a very underserved population, and, a lot of women have a hard time identifying. So to be able to kind of bring that to life and have women from different component statuses and branches and kind of talk about some things that we deal with while serving was amazing. So I'm glad we got a chance to do it.
Yeah, you and Lindsay actually worked fantastic, and it'd be nice, if women are watching this show and want to contribute or make suggestions, we want to make sure that women are represented not only as co-hosts like you and Lindsay have been, but also as guests and as ideas and topics, because the number of women in the military today is a growing population, and the needs of women, I think, are mostly undiscovered. I mean, we have a great VA healthcare system, but a healthcare system that's mostly paid attention to the needs of men and how the battlefield really affects men.
And I think sometimes even we don't realize some of the resources that we require. We're kind of thrown into this pot to kind of adjust fire, as they would say in the Army. So we kind of learn to live without and kind of, just have to make up things as we go. So when you're coming out and you're transitioning, again, you're finding out things that you really, really do require. And it's tough.
And as a testimony to how important those issues are, your show, the one that, of course, Nathan and I had nothing to do with, got the record number of phone calls and interactions with the community. And so it's obviously a subject that needs to be addressed at all different levels. And we are so happy that you guys could come on stage here and use Veterans Voices as a platform and reach so many people.
Yeah, it was exciting. Again, we got phone calls, locally, obviously. We got calls as far as Chicago, Illinois. We're here in Richmond just talking about resources that some women veterans themselves offer, some resources that we hadn't even considered were a high priority. So we definitely reached a large group, much larger than even I anticipated we would. So it's amazing.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I think we need to talk about the future of Veterans Voices in the women population. What are some possible topics that, coming the next 2 years? We did a specific episode just for women in the military, and so maybe we do something like that, or maybe we just are inclusive of the topic of women in our discussions in the future, our segments in the future. Sure. What is it that you think? We were talking a couple of episodes ago about what would really draw our audience to want to call in and to actually engage in the conversation, ask questions. What kind of questions or what kind of conversations would women veterans be most interested in?
Well, I find as a woman veteran and then also as a friend to other women veterans here in the county that they miss the camaraderie that most of us miss. They don't want to feel judged. MST is obviously a very heavy subject and a bit taboo depending on who you discuss it with. Homelessness, women veterans homelessness, that number is rising, transitioning with children, getting back into the workforce. I mean, there's many avenues that you can kind of explore that could be relatable to our brothers in arms, but definitely more specific need.
I think I'm listening to this little bird. I think we actually have Lindsay on the phone,
great.
and this is unscheduled.
Yes. Hey!
We actually didn't know Lindsay was going to be calling in.
Hi, guys. I'm Melissa.
Hi, Lindsay. How are you?
I'm doing really well, thank you.
How was that episode for you, Lindsay?
Oh, it was absolutely amazing. Melissa's just really covered so much of what we talked about, but it was really empowering, and the feedback that we got from it after the fact was just so encouraging to know that, this isn't just a boys' club, and it was really good to get those voices heard, and to know that, people were listening. So even if women weren't watching the show, you know, there was other people watching who then went and talked to a female veteran that they knew, and hopefully if it just led to one person seeking services, then we know it made a difference.
Absolutely.
We very distinctly, and I remember this, we had and I'm sure we had more than one, but this is just a really fresh memory. After that episode, we had a woman veteran come into our Contra Costa County Veteran Service office who had watched the episode. And so, I mean, there could have been many of them, because actually when that episode happened, I was gone. I wasn't even in the office, but I remember when I came back, a woman veteran was sitting in our office. So Lindsay, it's an award-winning show. You're still part of the show, but catch us up a little bit with what's been happening in your life, because you're joining us by phone. Why aren't you here in the studio?
Yeah, where are you?
I'm joining you by phone because I currently relocated to Los Angeles. So at the end of April, I moved to Los Angeles to pursue my career in acting and voiceover, which I could not have done. I wouldn't have had the flexibility to make that move were it not for the help I got from you, Nathan, from the office, from your office, in helping me process my disability claims. That just gave me the freedom to be able to finally make a decision and pursue a career path that I've been wanting to for so long. But I do miss you guys, and I miss the show, but I can't reiterate enough how important it is to get help in filing your disability claims or any sort of veterans claim you have. I mean, know that you're not alone, and there's people out there who can help you do it.
Great.
Well, I miss you, Lindsay. So
we all miss you, Lindsay.
Yeah.
It was much more pleasant to have you sitting here than Nathan, Lindsay. I got to tell you that.
Well, I never got to do a show with Lindsay. I'm jealous.
I know. I was always your substitute.
There you go.
Well, Lindsay, it's so nice to have you, and best of luck, and stay tuned in. And Melissa will be with us for the rest of the show as well. We've got more calls on hold. We know people are calling in. We've got messages to get to. Lindsay called in, and Melissa would love to have some phone calls from you as well. So please continue to call, chat, or email with comments or questions, or just to say hello. This is our 2nd anniversary, and this is your show. This is your voice, Veterans Voices. And we'll be right back after our award-winning episode, Women in the Military.
Tonight, we bring you Women in the Military, a special episode to commemorate and celebrate women's roles in the armed forces. Dr. Gaffney is an Air Force veteran who now counsels women at the Concord Vet Center. Sergeant First Class Hutton is assigned to the Army's 834th Transportation Battalion and is active in Alpha Gamma Xi military sorority.
So what are some of the things that you've noticed that are kind of unique to women in the work that you do?
I think the transition is tough. Transitioning from a predominantly male institution and having to go out and find work, not enough transition services on the outside, on the inside to help you prepare to get out. So although you thought you did all the right things, such as going to school and attending the seminars, there's still not enough.
The hardest part for me, being a single parent in the military, is reconnecting and transitioning with my children, making those family ties. And I am a master resiliency trainer, and I teach these lifelong skills to help the soldiers transition. And just like Dr. Gaffney said, while we're in the uniform, we're so used to the camaraderie of being around each other in the support system. And coming back my last time, I realized that outside of the military, even though I had my direct family, I didn't have a support system.
So Candy, why don't you tell us a little bit about the work that you are doing through the VFW, the Veterans of Foreign Wars?
The Veteran of Foreign Wars has allowed me as an individual to pay respect to other veterans by giving honor or participating in their departure. We do honor guard detail, which is a very rewarding service that we give to all our veterans. Post 1351 in Martinez also have American Legion, which also participate. And just being there for any veterans that might feel that they might want to connect with someone. it doesn't matter if you served overseas or if you did not. Veterans are there at the hall, including myself, to just help other veterans who just willing to come out and want to touch base, have a cup of coffees, talk to someone, have lunch, and these things are available.
It's that idea of camaraderie.
Right.
Yes.
And
Staying
sisterhood,
together.
like you were mentioning earlier.
Exactly.
And it's very important, you know, to stay connected. You know, there's an unspoken bond with any service member. You know, once you find out that you've served, you kind of know.
When planning this anniversary episode, we reach out to past guests, viewers, and fans of the show. We have one of those guests on the air right now that would like to speak to you, Melissa.
Great. So I believe
Chastity, are you there?
Hi, everybody. How are you doing?
Hi.
Hey, Chastity, welcome back to the show. We were just talking about the Women Veterans episode, and it's great to have hear your voice again.
Yes, that's why I was calling in. I just wanted to tell you guys, you know what, you guys are doing a great job. I watch every month. It's an awesome program. But that program, that show, that woman show specifically, I actually forwarded back up to my higher headquarters, Scott Air Force Base, and our lead star, Mrs. Bryant, she actually uses that episode for some training, just to show what we are doing out here. We as women veterans are doing out here, just trying to get the word out about sexual assault prevention. And I just wanted to say thank you all so much for having me on that show, to be that advocate and that avenue to be able to put the word out about sexual assault and MST.
That's fantastic.
Well, thank you, Chastity.
Absolutely. And again, you know, like I said earlier, there were women represented who were still active duty, who were veterans, different branches of service. So I think that spoke a lot to what resources are available for whom. Sergeant First Class Hutton, she is a sexual assault response coordinator. So again, just the resources and the services that are offered, I think went a long way. So thank you so much for joining us on that show. And thank you for calling in, Chastity.
Thank you, Chastity. And we've gotten many comments like that we've been getting back, and they're very similar. We are a great educational resource for veterans and their families. Even incarcerated veterans are being shown our Reboot series in preparation for finding a job or continuing their education in the future. Moral injury and suicide were both very difficult topics to cover, but viewers continued to call in to share their stories and experiences. I think that we may have one of our...
We actually have Josh Stanley
Josh Stanley, who was on our suicide episode. Josh, you with us?
Yes.
Hey,
guys.
Josh.
Hey,
Josh.
How you doing, man?
Not too shabby. Not too shabby. Still kicking, still living the dream, the American dream. Loving it.
Well, it's great to hear your voice.
Yeah, Josh,
yeah, it's good to be back on the show, even if it's only through telephone line and not physically.
It's perfect. Actually, Kevin and Melissa and I actually rewatched a portion of your episode earlier today when we were doing our prep for the show, and we wanted to really reconnect with you and hear from you about where life is at for you today. So catch us up, because you were on our episode in October, I think, of 2014. It was only like our second or third episode. So a lot of time has passed, almost 2 years. Josh, what's happened for you?
Man, I didn't realize it had been that long until Brian Vargas and Melissa there reminded me of how long it's been. Well, it's 2 years past. I'm still attending Stanford University here.
Good.
And majoring in English literature, believe it or not. One of my I've kind of really helped me process my times in the Army, Iraq, and Afghanistan. And I love to read, and it's helping me connect to, surprisingly, it's helping me connect to all the civilians around here. It's really helping me process and continue my transition. It's an ongoing process, transitioning to civilian life. And school, having a mission, something to wake up for in the morning, helps that transition along.
So another year or so left at Stanford, and then what are your plans after that? Are you going to go to work here in the Bay Area, stay local? I know you're from the county, but what's going to be your next adventure after school?
Well, as a grunt, it's always hard to see that far ahead. So I try to take things one day at a time. But after one more year, probably here at Stanford, I'll probably go into federal law enforcement.
Okay.
Because I still have that yearning to serve.
Sure.
And along with that childlike spirit of adventure in me at the same time. So that's where I see myself going. But in the meantime, I'm just focused on knocking out this last year at Stanford and reaching out in the community as well to the veteran organization that I'm part of here right now.
Well, that's great, Josh, and it's great to hear your voice. Stay diligent, get that work done, and good luck in the future. And it was an absolute privilege to have you on the show. And I thank you for your honesty and sharing your experiences. We remember it. We remember it well. So God bless you, and keep up the good work, my friend.
God bless you as well. Thank you.
All righty. Our discussions become richer with participation from viewers. And just to remind you, our lines are open, so email, call, chat with us tonight. We'll continue our discussion after these show
and, we added in the title of the show, it's worth talking about. And to be honest, it's challenging to talk about. I have a tough time myself approaching this issue because it's not talked about very frequently, and so I really don't even know where to begin or how to have the conversation about it or where to direct the conversation. But here we are on stage, and we have you here, Josh, in the room, and you've got a story. You came home from combat, and you've had the opportunity to come on stage tonight and share with us in the TV show tonight your story. So tell us your story.
Yeah, as far as it being hard to talk about, you and me both. It's hard for me because I'm a naturally quiet guy. It's hard for me to talk about anything, let alone something as personal as me wanting to die. But anyway, shortly after Afghanistan, I got out of the Army in 2010. And afterwards, I did really nothing but drink whiskey. And I barely said a word to my family and to friends. Even to myself. Some people talk to themselves. I didn't even do that. The only time I really opened my mouth was to pour a shot in. And so almost a year of that, and then I found myself in Richmond and the train tracks on Cutting and Carlson, and pulled up my car on the tracks, and I wanted to die. I really saw no purpose to life anymore because seemed like the Army was totally different from when I was a kid, so I couldn't go to that. Life was never the same. I saw no way out but dying.
Thinking about it a little bit more, and that you survived combat twice, and you felt like your buddies that didn't survive, you owed something to them, and so your life began a new purpose, right? It was about staying alive, not for yourself and not just for your family locally, but for your buddies that are alive also and the ones that didn't come back.
Yeah, and I realize more and more every day that I'm really surviving for everybody.
So some of our viewers tonight might not be familiar about kind of what moral injury is and how it differs from PTSD. So why don't we jump off and kind of discuss the difference between the two?
Okay, well I think there is some common symptom overlap between both conditions, but I think when you boil it down, moral injury is about a feeling of I am unclean and worthy of shame. And I think that's very different from PTSD because at its essence, I think of PTSD, it's an anxiety disorder where a person feels profoundly unsafe and like they can't afford to let down their guard. To trust others, to trust the world to be a safe place, and to trust themselves. And so when you think about trust in yourself, we can see how that can kind of blend into this concept of moral injury, of things that we might have done that were against our own moral beliefs.
Why, Bob, is it that you're seeking out veterans to come to work for the contractors, for the unions?
Well, that's an interesting question. If you think about the veteran experience, whether it's 10 years like you, whether it's one tour like your one
4 years,
enlistment like yours, you're in a highly disciplined environment, highly skilled, highly trained, highly motivated, and there's a lot of maturity that comes with that 4 years in the service. And if you think about it from an employer standpoint, that's pretty much a dream employee. We pride ourselves in being the best electrical workforce in the world, and we want to maintain that. And a good way to continue that is by accessing veterans with the skills they already have in place. And then we also have I'm very proud to say, an award-winning training program. So whatever you don't have, whatever skills you don't have and you need to develop, we're happy to provide those.
Welcome back to Veterans Voices, where we are celebrating our second birthday tonight. We've got a chat here, and the chat question is it possible that War Inc. helped push Mr. Graves to get his memorial tattoo? What do you think, Mr. Graves?
Well, absolutely. It was that and one of our famous cameramen here, Zach Bass, that talked me into getting a tattoo to honor my son. And I want to thank you guys for that, because at my age, it was not an easy thing to go through. So, yes, it did help. It was part of the impetus for that, but I'm really happy I did it because it honors my son.
Oh, you're a brave
So thank
man.
you for that question, whoever called in. I didn't plant that, I swear.
This is our 24th episode, and we wouldn't have made it this far if it wasn't for you.
Viewer participation and support are key to making this project a success. One way you can get involved with us is through our viewer advisory panel. This is a group of viewers who provide our show with valuable feedback and opinions so we can make this show stronger and more valuable to you. We'll return in a moment.
Veterans Voices is forming a viewer advisory panel to provide direction for future shows. Your opinion can make a difference and assist us in doing a better job of meeting the needs of other veterans and families of veterans. You can help with a very small commitment of your time, only 2 or 3 minutes per month. As a member of the Viewers Advisory Panel, you would receive a single email each month with a short survey containing 5 questions. You simply respond with your rating for each segment of the show and then rate the overall show. There will be a section for an additional written comment if you wish to make one. After filling out the ratings, simply send the email back to Veterans Voices. It's quick and simple. We understand that you might have another commitment when the live show airs each month. Not a problem. You can watch any of the follow-up shows that air throughout the week or watch the show from our website and then send in your survey. And thanks for providing feedback to us on a regular basis. You will receive a certificate recognizing your membership on the Viewer Advisory Panel. You will also receive a free invitation to attend the annual Veterans Voices Barbecue to be held this summer. To join the Viewer Advisory Panel, just send an email to vetviewer@contracostatv.org or sign up on our website. Thank you, and don't forget to tune in to Veterans Voices every Monday night at 7 p.m. with new episodes the third Monday of every month. Thank you for serving. To learn more about Viewer Advisory Panel, please visit our website. Our show segment called A Veteran's Voice is a way for veterans to share whatever is on their mind. If you'd like to come on the show and share your thoughts, email our producers with your information. Our Veterans Voices for tonight is Zach, a veteran who travels the nation capturing unique stories of Americans. He calls his project the Rolling Bard, and we caught up with him recently to hear about his journey. We'll return after this interview with Zach, the Rolling Bard. This next segment is our newest segment titled A Veteran's Voice. This is the third opportunity we've had to have a veteran on our show in which we afford them the opportunity to have an open forum to talk with our community, to talk with our audience about whatever topic is most important to them. Kevin and I are joined by Zach Herrig.
Yes.
Zach,
hello.
which means what in Irish?
No, in German.
German?
In German, it means hairy.
It means
and
hairy.
I'm bald, so the world makes sense again.
Well, welcome to the show, Zach. It's
Thank
good
you.
to have you on.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Looking forward to hearing your story.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not from the local area, but before we get into what brought you here to Contra Costa County, let's get into a little bit about your military service and adventures that you've had while in the military.
Absolutely. So I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and I was a sergeant. And I served in Afghanistan in a couple different roles. Officially, I was there as a civil affairs Marine. I also have an infantry MOS, was in plenty of firefights out there. That was in 2010 to 2011 with 3-5 Kilo Company, Dark Horse. And my other unofficial role was as a Pashto interpreter. So I actually ended up talking to sometimes like 100 Afghans a day if I was processing them at a front gate. But I heard a lot of stories from a lot of Afghans, from a lot of Marines, because I kind of did a little bit of circulating. And, you know, it's just like any combat vet who comes back, you know, your world just becomes so rich, and the colors are brighter, you know, the highs are higher, the lows are lower, and you just feel this intensity for, you know, felt like 20 years, but it was 8.5 months. So when I come back, you know, suddenly my world just shrank back down, and then they ask you to live in this kind of smaller, subdued way. And it was just, you know, all I could do just to have these occasional solar flares of kind of, I want to feel something great again, you know, finding closure at the end of my night to go to bed. It's you know, that's why you don't sleep. It's not the, you know, maybe some people have nightmares. I didn't have any nightmares. I just felt like I didn't do anything during my days. So I started to basically travel after that. I didn't have much money, but with the GI Bill, not everyone knows this, you can actually use the GI Bill to study in foreign universities.
Right.
Right, so I studied in a university in Switzerland, I studied at a university in Ireland, and actually I couldn't stay in one place for very long. You know, I kind of was looking for something to make me feel alive like that again, just feeling on fire, you know. So it's not even like, you know, a lot of people look for happiness, you know, other people look for satisfaction, and I wasn't looking for that. I was looking for the fire, you know, I was looking for those bright colors again. So I actually studied at 6 different colleges, just kept switching, trying to find my right fit. And it was on a plane back from a funeral, going back to Ireland, I had this epiphany, you know, thinking about life and death, and it just occurred to me that any time that I, you know, spent not really investing in my dream was a waste of time.
What was the dream?
So the dream is basically to combine hearing and then retelling other people's stories that, you know, really have the ability to impact others on a powerful, deeply emotional level. And I did this in Afghanistan. You know, I did it through speaking Pashto. I did it in some of these universities, some of these other countries. You know, when I lived in Ireland, I really got, I was able to invest in my community there because everyone speaks English, so that was incredible. And I just realized, you know, veterans are the greatest example about how, you know, we feel so isolated because we think we've had experiences no one else can relate to and understand. And
combat generally.
Yeah, well, combat, but it doesn't have to be, you know? And it was impressed upon me that by sharing these stories, you know, suddenly that space becomes a lot smaller in between what, you know, keeps us far apart. And we can, you know, begin to invest in each other and build community. And I've been moved by certain YouTube videos, online content over the years, and I just thought that would be an incredible platform to do that. So my dream, to answer your question, is to basically travel and find those stories that you would never would have expected, from unexpected subcultures and places and people, and then create moments that other people can experience just across the internet, but as well, you know, in person. And so I started a Kickstarter campaign just 3 weeks ago, and my life is completely different now. So in about 2 weeks, strangers, family, friends supported me with about $16,000 to fund a year-long YouTube series that I'm calling The Rolling Bard. And
what is a rolling bard?
So it's rolling because when I'm not staying with, you know, my audience, friends along the way, I'm going to be living in a van. And I'm really thrilled about this. I've been living in my van on and off for a couple weeks now, and I love it. It's ultimate freedom, honestly. A bard, though, is a traveling storyteller. Traditionally, they're from Ireland in the old days, and they would kind of go from town to town and home to home. And in exchange for some hot meals, some hospitality, they would basically share music and stories. And you know, I'm a singer, I'm a storyteller.
Right, and this goes back to how history was translated across the country without an internet.
Right.
This is how you found out what was going on in one part of Ireland, and in the northern Ireland, down in the southern part of Ireland, was through these bards that traveled and told the stories of where they had been, right? That's
Exactly.
How it was like the newsman of the hour.
And you know, it's a great thing you brought that up, because there's so much that our news, you know, the social different social media platforms don't have in their stories. So it's going to take some other, you know, platform, some method. Hopefully, I'll have the privilege of telling some of these stories to show people something they never would have seen otherwise. And that's what I want to do. I want to surprise and kind of blow people away with what they didn't know. You know,
And there's a lot of credibility to that because it's human to human. You're not reading it from a source that you're unfamiliar with. You have the opportunity to sit in front of someone and really kind of see their mannerisms, hear the tone of their voice, and really kind of judge the truthfulness and the credibility of the story based on the person right in front of you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, these are all going to be true stories. That's the power of it. You know, I think there's a place and there's certain aspects of truth to fiction and the narratives they can spin, but I'm really interested in investing in what's actually happened. You know, especially with my fellow vets. You know, it's horrific how many people I know or friends of friends that have committed suicide just because they felt like they didn't have an outlet. And so I can do my part. I can stand up and tell my stories about Afghanistan, about the Marine Corps, about my travels. But I really am passionate about supporting not just veterans, but anyone to connect with their greater community. And the internet's the best place to do that right now.
It seems like communication's a big thing for you. I mean, I'm looking at your Marine career as a translator, and you said you were a.
So
what was the dialect?
I speak Pashto.
Pashto is an Afghan dialect. Is that correct? You mentioned that.
It's an Afghan language. Yeah.
Okay. So were you interested in language before you got the MOS, or did the MOS help? Because now you're following down that road of communication.
So actually, I didn't get the MOS. I just volunteered to learn Pashto. I was given the opportunity to study for 5 weeks before I left. Before that, I'd studied Spanish, German, Arabic, Jordanian Arabic.
Language is kind of a gift for you then,
Yeah.
because either you get it or you don't.
Well, you know, they build on each other, you know. And so basically, you know, I was able to do, I've never felt so useful in my entire life as when I was interpreting for Pashto. You know, I helped out with some of the Afghan National Army kind of support teams. I was able to, you know, hundreds of villagers would stand in line at this base with a million problems. And because officially I was there as a civil affairs Marine attached to a grunt unit. And I have an infantry MOS too. But I was able to basically like cut through so many middle people and just, you know, serve my commander. You know, it was awesome. And so I've just been trying to find a way to use my talents and my abilities to be just as useful. I think this is what it's all boiling down to. You know, ever since I pressed, you know, launch for the Kickstarter, I've gotten green lights, and so I'm just like,
that's a good thing, man. Keep running.
Yeah, I'm not stopping. So, and I was actually really afraid of what some of my Marine friends would think, and they've been the most supportive of this. You know, it's kind of terrifying to put yourself out there like that, but I don't think there's really any circumstance where I wouldn't encourage, you know, another veteran or Marine to do the same, or anyone. You know, being vulnerable has its own strength.
So Zach, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for telling your story, and of course, part of your mission is to listen to others' stories and allow them an opportunity to share, whether it's something maybe that they've never shared with anyone else before. Maybe it's even something personal and confidential. And commend you for that, and thank you for your service as well. And we'll look to stay in touch with you. So stay in touch with Zach Herrig.
Yep.
Zach Herrig on The Rolling Bard. You can follow him on YouTube and his weekly show. And stay tuned with Veterans Voices, and we'll do our best to keep Zach included in the show so we can get updates. And we've got Zach on the phone. Zach, you're there. Give us a quick little 30-second synopsis. Where has life taken you since you were here on the set of Veterans Voices?
Hello, gentlemen.
Hey, Zach.
Well,
hey, Zach.
It's a pleasure to speak with you. Essentially, life has been pretty wild. I kind of left Martinez and stayed in Sacramento, Portland, and now I'm in Olympia, Seattle. seen a Marine buddy and a corpsman that I haven't seen since we were in Afghanistan living in a mud hut fighting in Sangin. Strangers have paid for my meals, invited me into their homes, and traded their stories for mine. I also wanted to explore bard life, basically exchanging stories for hospitality, and that's gone really well as well. So I'm excited for the next, the first 2 episodes, which will be, I'm actually in the process of making now. They both involve bodies of water, that's all I'm going to say. And then part of the Kickstarter project, my backers got to vote on states that I'm guaranteed to visit. So I have the 10 states that were in the top 10. So I'm definitely going to California, Colorado, Louisiana, Maine, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Montana, New Mexico, New York, and North Carolina.
Fantastic. Wow. Zach, thanks for joining us. #BardLife. Great to hear from you. Zach, call us back in a couple more episodes, and we'll catch up with you more then.
And we'll stay in touch, Zach. Great to hear from you.
So we've got Cassidy on the phone. Cassidy is from a project up in Sonoma County and has to do with name tapes, which is kind of a post-Vietnam era uniform change or uniform piece modification. Thank you. And it's basically the last name of the service member. So Cassidy, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Hey, Cassidy, give us a 30-second synopsis of the name tape project.
All right, well, quick 30-second synopsis here. So my name is Cassidy Nolan, and I am president of the Veterans Club at the Napa Valley College and the 2016 Veteran of the Year for District 4, recognized by Bill Dodd. And what I've been doing here at the Napa Valley College, and what I'm trying to do actually right now is, naturally, I do a lot of community work, and I want to have the club do a lot of community work, too. The entire club is comprised of veterans, and an idea that I had was to create a name tape drive. And the name tape, I can't remember on the exact date of when all branches started transferring over to having your name either stenciled or sewed with your last name on an actual piece of cloth, and then that cloth itself is sewed onto your uniforms. Once we collect them, we're going to put them on display in a sort of tile fashion at the Napa Valley College as not just more or less an art piece, but an actual sort of something that could be, I guess, a symbol for the amount of veterans that are in the community and the veterans that support the community, and then also the community supporting the veterans.
Well, thank you so much, Cassidy, for joining us, and we really support...
How do people get a hold of you, Cassidy?
Well,
real quick.
Sure, the best way is to either contact the college, Napa Valley College, and just say Cassidy Nolan, or I send an email out, and that's the reason why I'm talking to you gentlemen. And it has my email on there. It has my personal cell phone number because I don't have any more than one phone. And just an email or a phone call. And like I said, you can contact the college. I have some depository box here in the county, but depending on how many people actually get activated in this, if some people want to start having their own depositories, then I can come by and swing and take them up. That sort of thing.
Thank you, Cassidy. Appreciate all that you do for veterans.
Good luck with your hard work.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, there are many events going on in the Bay Area this summer. For a list of these events and more, check our calendar, which is found on the Veterans Voices homepage. Don't forget, the Veterans Voices Viewer Appreciation Barbecue will be held on August 6th at the Concord Vet Center. Go to our website for more information and to sign up for the Viewer Advisory Panel. The barbecue is free to Viewer Advisory Panel participants and $10 a person if you aren't signed up for the panel. East Bay Stand Down is taking place September 15th through the 18th this year at the Alameda County Fairgrounds. Go to eastbaystanddown.org to volunteer or participate. The 10th annual Joey Graves Memorial Tournament will be on September 19th at the Discovery Bay Country Club.
This has been a wonderful trip down memory lane. Thank you, Melissa, for being here again tonight. Thank you for all of our dedicated viewers, the support of Cal Vet, who has put on 3 years of grant funding for this show. I want to wish a happy birthday to my grandma, Irma Kane, 91 today. And this is Veterans Voices, wishing you a good night.